Hi, welcome to Pipesim Python Toolkit for Beginners. In this video, I'd like to discuss two topics, simulation study and model validation. Let's start from study. I copied case study model CSV102 in the temporary folder. In this model, you can find a gas production well with one completion. If I click on the completion, I can find the boundary condition, reservoir pressure 4000 psi. If I click on the surface equipment, I can find another one boundary condition, wellhead pressure 1100 psi. So these values are the model properties and they are stored inside the model. When it comes to simulation, as an example PT profile, I can override the boundary conditions. So instead of changing the value inside the model, I can change the boundary conditions here and use 4000 psi as a reservoir pressure, for example, and 100 psi as the wellhead pressure. This concept was used to keep the original data unchanged when I run different simulation scenarios. The configuration of this task is controlled by the studies. Under the ribbon, you can find the panel with studies. Study, then the list of the studies. We always have at least one study name. In my case, it's the study 1. And then we have the several control elements to change the name, remove the study, or create the new one. So let's try to create the new study. I click plus button. You can see that the window was closed. I need to run it again, PT profile. And in this case, the boundary conditions were updated. Pipesim created a new task and used the model data to update the boundary conditions. So now they are the same as it was defined inside the model. Here in this window, I can change the properties. I can select the completion as a sensitivity data, then define, for example, the pressure, use some value, 4000, 5000, then run simulation. And if I want to go back to my previous case for comparison or just to rerun again with updated data, I always can change the study. So I change the value here, then I go to the previous study, study number 1, I open it and I see that the data are preserved. So the values are still there. If I want to synchronize my model with the boundary condition, I can use the reset boundary conditions tab. Click on this button and you can see that the boundary conditions were updated. So Pipesim just used the model data to update the boundary conditions. This is the general concept of the study, and let's see how we can work with it from the Python toolkit. As usual, I opened the current model in the current session. And first of all, what I want to get is to read information about the studies available inside my model. For this purpose, I can use the model, then find everything, and filter by study name. Model components, study. You can see that the output is usually a list with name of the components. In my case, there is only one study with the name study number 1. Now I'd like to get information about my task, the T-profile simulation. For this purpose, I can use model, tasks, the T-profile simulation, get conditions, and first argument I need to define the producer. Since I'm working with the well name well_1, I define it, and the second I need to set up the study name. So let's use the study number 1. And we've got the output. This is a dictionary with producer and inlet pressure 5000 and outlet pressure 100. So we've got exactly the same values that we've seen previously in the user interface. But when we work with only one study inside the model, it's not necessary to specify that explicitly. So let's just try to copy this line and save the output inside the variable condition 1 and do not mention the study name. Now I'd like to check that the inlet data is correct, so I will use the condition 1, then parameters, T-profile simulation, and inlet pressure, and we can see that the output is there. What if I want to create the new study? For this purpose, I can use the method add. Model, add, and then specify the component I want to create. In my case, it will be the study. And then I need to use the name of the new study. So let's use it, study 2. So the model was created. And now I have 2 studies. It means that for each object, for each task, I can get the boundary condition for the study 1 and for the study 2. I haven't specified anything for the study 2, and I assume that Pipesim is done instead of the mean. So let's read information from the model, and we will use the conditions number 2. And in this case, I need to specify explicitly the name of the study. Otherwise, I will get the error. So the name will be study 2, and will be saved to the condition 2. And now let's report what's the inlet pressure. So we can report, or we even can report everything from conditions. So we can see that the inlet pressure is used 4,000, and the outlet pressure is 1,100. So it's the same logic as it was in the user interface. Pipesim created a new task for new study and used the model data to define the boundary conditions. So let's go back to the condition number 1. So in the condition number 1, we've got the following boundary conditions. And what if I want to reset my task configuration? For this purpose, I can use the model, tasks, PT profile, simulation, and then select the reset conditions. And of course, I need to set the producer, well_1, and then of course I need to select the study. So let's use the study number 1. So we've got the response. It was successfully reset. And now I want to read this information one more time. So I will copy this, paste it in the next line, and I still need to get information from the study 1. And we can see that the new information is the same as in the study 2, because information, the boundary condition will reset. So that's all what you need to know about the study inside the Python toolkit. So I'm going to close the session, and let's move on to the validation. For this purpose, I will use the prepared line to open the new model. Just need to copy it here and upload it. And let's open the new Pipesim model. In this model, you can see that I used the case study CSN301 saved in the temporary folder and then modified it slightly. So you have several components highlighted here. And we have inside the validation window, we have 2 validations. So when it comes to validation, there are 2 groups. Group 1 is related to model setup. If you miss components data or use wrong data, you'll get a validation immediately, like in this case, you have 2 validations. The second group is related to task. For example, if I select the source, open the PT profile, you can see the highlighted input field here because the data is missed. And inside the window, validation window, we can see that there is another validation with reference to this task profile. So the second group is related to this task. So if we close this window, we still have the 2 validations, 2 different groups. So let's go back to Python toolkit code and try to get information about validation. For this purpose, I use the model, validate, and then we return the validation, and the output is the object. So let's keep it with the component name issues. And since this issues is a special class for special objects, we need to find more information how it works. For this purpose, I can go to the Python toolkit documentation. And inside the Python toolkit, I will type the validate in the search, do the search, and then go to this reference model validate and find information. Here we can see that the validate returns specific objects, and this is the code that helps us to properly report the validations. So let's go back to the code, enter it here, adjust it slightly, and report. So we can see that the value of the property must be specified, and then we have flow line and the inner diameter, and another one text is one or more of the following properties is required. So the message, path, and the property name. So everything is similar to what you got from the user interface. But let's modify it slightly. So use the print and do this step so we can see the difference between the different validations. So we have 2 validations. And you remember when we run the task, we have another one validation. So we need to find a way how to report information from the task. For this purpose, we need to reference to the task itself. First of all, let's try to see what the name of the model components. Model find all components, model components source, because I worked with source before, and then we have the name source here, and then I need to go to the model, task, PT profile simulation, and I have the method validate, and I need to enter the producer. The producer name is source, and still I work with one study, so I don't need to specify it. And then I will report the output here in the issues, tab issues. The output is still here, and then I will use the same output to report information. Now you can see that we have 3 issues. 2 are related to the model in general, and the first one is specified or related to the current task. So the value is not specified. So that's all what you need to know about the validations in Python toolkit. I will close the session, and thank you for watching my video.